Guys, welcome to JazzedTutorials. So this week's Back to Basics is going to be a pretty fun tutorial. I'll be showing you how to create a another imprint like tutorial. I believe there's another use name for it. I think it's like embossing or there's another name for it, but it's when you imprint text into like something. I forget the real name of it, but anyway, emboss, right? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, so I have this photo here. Now this photo here, I already made this in Photoshop. I'll leave a link below to a PSD file for this file because you will need to use this in order to make the same effect we're using. But if you want to create your own, I'll quickly explain that. Basically, what I did is I found a nice wooden texture, and I took a white and baby blue gradient on a background layer, and then I faded in the texture into the background gradient layer, if that makes any sense. That's quickly how I made it, but for those of you that don't want to go through all that trouble, I will leave a PSD link below to download so you can use this exact image. Alright, let's move forward and get started with this whole textured text thing. Alright, so you're going to want to type your text, and you want to kind of use a really nice bold font because it'll give you more of a really awesome looking effect for this particular tutorial. I would say Arial Black or Arial Rounded would look really nice. A nice, really nice bold text would look really great. So I already have my text typed, and I use black, by the way. And the reason why you want to use black is because you want to overlay the effect into the effect. And if you don't have black and you use white or another color, it will use that color and it will overlay that color to what's already on here. So if I overlay white onto this tan here, it won't blend in as nice. So that's why black is my go-to for this tutorial. So black everything, just about. Alright, so we're going to then double click on our text layer. Now, as you'll notice, I have rasterized my text. And I've done that because we're going to be adding some effects to it, and it will ask you to rasterize maybe, so I figured why not rasterize it beforehand. It just makes life a lot easier. So rasterize your text by right-clicking, and it'll say, well, mine won't say it's grayed out, but yours will say it. It'll be in the black here. I'll say rasterize layer, and just click that, and then you'll get what I have here. Alright, we're going to double-click on that, and we're going to add a few little styles to this. We're going to add a drop shadow. And you're going to want to change the color to a color hue within this texture. If you're using a different image, in the event that you are, not that you would be, but if you're using a different image, you want to take the eyedropper and select a color within that image texture here. So I've chosen this lovely tan color here, but by all means you could select a different color from the texture. Alright, and then you're going to change your opacity to 100%. 90 degrees for your angle. Use your global lights and 1 for the distance, and the rest is set at 0, and you're good there. Alright, inner shadow. Black is your choice of color, and you're going to use a multiply blend mode. 30% opacity. Uncheck use global light, and you should have 90 degrees for your angle. And then you're going to have a 1px distance, a 0% choke, and a 1px size. Okay, bevel and emboss. So as you'll see here, my style is emboss. I have my technique is smooth. Depth is 461, guys. 461. Directions down, and your size is 0, and your soften is 0. Uncheck use global light, and then select 90 degrees for your angle and 30 for your altitude. You're gonna want to change your highlight mode color to this tan. It's a similar tan color we used before, so just click somewhere in your photo and get a nice tan color of such. Click OK, you're good to go there. Alright, let's go forward. So now we're here bevel and emboss, so now go back to your shadow mode, and we have black already selected there, and multiply is your blend mode. Opacity is 50%. Oh, and your highlight mode opacity is 35%. Okay, gradient overlay. The overlay is going to be a tan to tan gradient, a darkish tan to a lightish tan. Click OK. And you can select any tan hues you want from this here. Just click somewhere and get a dark one, and then again on the opposite side, click somewhere and get a light one, and boom. Okay, good to go there. Overlay is your blend mode for this one. and you want 100% opacity selected, 90-degree angle, and your style should be linear if it's not already, which usually it is, but if not, change it. And then click OK, and you should see something like this. Now, you'll notice here that my fill is set at 0. You will need to set your fill at 0 if it's not already, because if you don't, you will see that. So you'll see this right here. So if you see anything like that, just move it down to 0, and boom, blends right in. And you'll notice how I've already done the Control T, and I placed it directly on top of the texture. To do so, what you'll do a Control or Command T, depending on which software you're using, Windows or Mac, and then you'll use the perspective, and you're going to hold down your Shift key and perspectivate it so that it looks like mine here. Holding out and using the right corner or the left corner, and you should get something like this. Okay, and that is why we actually rasterize the layer, because essentially if you don't rasterize your layer, perspective and distort will not be available if it's in text format. So that is why we rasterized our layer, because we need to have that effect enabled. Alright, and then just to enhance this photo, seeing as it's a bit blank and blah the way it is, I decided to enhance it. So I went ahead and added some of my own little tips and tricks to this. So you'll notice here that I found a texture. I found a water texture. And what I've done, and this you can just google.com, type in ocean texture, water texture, something that has water to it. And then what you'll do is you'll paste it onto here. And then right as the horizon, you'll fade it in there. I put mine at overlay because I had a really bright color blue, and it looked really nice when I overlaid it, because that's the original color right there. Now, I could have left it as that. That would have been fine, but I felt like it was too much, so I went and hit overlay, and it really blended in quite nicely. And then I made an additional copy of that layer because I felt like it was still too bright. So I made a second copy of that water layer, and the second copy I set it at 50%. Alright, and they're both at overlay, just so you know. Overlay and overlay. Alright, and then again, to add more of an awesome effect to this, I found a sky texture, and I set this one at overlay as well. Because if you'll notice, when I put it at normal, that was the original one I found. So just type in google.com, clouds, and whatnot, and select some clouds you think look really nice. Blue clouds like mine. And then select them to overlay so it blends in with your water. Overlay, and voila! You have that. Pretty nifty, don't you think? Well, that looks pretty cool and all, but don't you... Oh yeah, and this is my top one. So, there you go. So, I liked that as it was, but... just to be a cool kid, I added some like grain, brushes. And these I just happen to have in my computer. You don't really need them. And I also added, as you'll notice, a starfish to the side. And then I also added some seashells just to give it that beachy theme. You gotta figure summer's almost here, spring's ending soon. So I wanted to create something really summery themed, and this was kind of cool and summery, in my opinion. And yeah, the video is a bit lengthy, but I think it's still beginner mode, don't you think? I mean, this isn't that difficult. I think beginners can do this, don't you think? I mean, if you think it's that difficult, sorry guys, but I thought it was pretty easy mode, so I think I'd share it with you guys. But yeah, that's basically it. And if you don't have any of those, textures, if you don't have any of those seashells or anything, that's totally fine. I mean, if you wanted to leave it as it was, with just the text and the cool, like, water and sky, that's fine. I just added some cool grain, like, brushes and these seashells just to give it more depth for an awesome outcome. But again, that's totally your preference. If you happen to have them, hanging around, fine, go ahead and use them, but you don't really need them if you don't want them. But if you really want to enhance your photo, I would say go for it. Just go to google.com, type in seashell texture or something, and you'll find some stuff you like and whatnot. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and please subscribe. I love subscribers. Subscribers are amazing.